What's going on, guys? I got a really cool video for everybody today. A while back I did a video called Lots of Balls with just a bunch of different morphs and combos, and it's kind of hard to come up with, you know, material that you're gonna put on YouTube because there's so many different things you could do. But a video like this one that I'm gonna do right now, it's pretty basic and easy for me to show a lot of animals at once and at the same time make a really good video for everybody. So I'm gonna be going through these animals very quickly, probably a lot quicker than I'm showing this one right now, just because there's gonna be a lot. Most of these are 2017, some will be 2016s, and I might even show a couple other things as well. But I'm starting the video off with this gorgeous female blue-eyed Lucy. This is a lesser Russo complex, or a lesser diamond they're also called. Like most blue-eyed Lucies, if you look very closely, you'll see a faint dorsal stripe down the spine. A lot easier to see when they're young or under a black light. But when they get older, you start to not see it as much. Classic all white snake, super cool, still really popular in the pet trade. I still love blue-eyed Lucies, and I always will. They're one of my favorite morphs. So I'm gonna put this girl back, and just gonna keep moving right along. So since I just showed that blue-eyed Lucy, I'm gonna show a different kind of blue-eyed Lucy. This is a super Mojave. So basically it's like a dirty form of leucism where it's not solid white and you do see some pattern and coloration in there. One thing I really like about these, not only just genetically, they're really good animals to have breeding wise because you could do so much with a super Mojave, but if you look close, her eyes are a lot more blue than the other ones were. Super lessers and super Mojaves tend to have very blue eyes, a lot lighter of a blue, almost a baby blue compared to, you know, the darker blue of the other ones, like an ocean type blue. But I like when they're really light colored like this, because who wouldn't want their blue-eyed Lucy to really have very blue eyes? Some super Mojaves do hatch out with less white. More white on the sides, but this one's mother is very, you know, she has a lot of pigment on her, so her babies show it as well. So I'm gonna put her back and keep going. Alright, so on the same allele as the super Mojaves and the other blue-eyed Lucy I showed you. So the last snake had 2 Mojave genes. It's a super Mojave. This has 1 Mojave gene and 1 phantom gene. So this is a Mojave phantom. It's also called a purple passion. I guess I'll start off just showing snakes on this allele to make things easier to compare, because they all do look similar to each other with very little differences. For instance, there's also Mystic Potions, which I'll grab a couple of those right now. Alright, well, I'm gonna put this one back because it's crazy moving all over, and I'll just compare these two. Alright, like I said, very similar snakes. So this is a Mojave Mystic or Mystic Potion. This is a Mojave Phantom or a Purple Passion. My Mystic Potions tend to have a lot more side pattern because the male that I use, which is a Mystic Potion as well, he looks just like this. He has a lot of pattern, but not all potions will have a lot of pattern on them, but I like them with more pattern. Whereas the sides of the Passion, at least this Passion, is all blushed out. The dorsal stripe on the Passion's a little bit more yellow, and on the Mystic Potion, not as yellow. This girl's all balled up here. And just like all the blue eye Lucies, they have the same type of eye because they're on the same allele. They all have that blue eye. You just see it better with the blue eye Lucies because it's a white snake. So not everyone really knows that these have blue eyes. And the cool thing about these eyes, like all of them, they all have red pupils as well. If you look at them in certain lighting at a certain angle. The iris is all blue and the pupils are solid red. All right. Alright, and if you guys remember, I was just saying the Mystic Potion had a lot more pattern on the sides. Well, here's another Mystic Potion. And as you can see, there's no pattern at all on this one. The reason for that is this one is a Het Pied. So the influence of the Het Pied just basically washed out all the pattern. This girl's really feisty, so try not to let her tag me, but look at this thing. Look at that behind the head. It's all blushed out back here. I'm just used to seeing the regular potions, and something like this just makes me really just stare at it because it's so clean compared to the regular potions. Produced her from breeding a Mystic Pied to a Mojave Het Pied. All right. So on the same subject, Mystic Potions, these are the first Mystic Potion pieballs that I've ever produced. And I've seen a couple of these before. I know Serpent's Den has made a few. And every one that I've seen has a solid white head and solid white everything for that matter, just like this one here. For some reason, which is awesome, this one here hatched out with head pattern, almost like an ivory. Just like, not like an ivory, but just like that blushing that an ivory has. It's similar. Look at that. They have a really weird head shape to them. and funny eyes as well. Now, I do have the flash on the camera, but if it wasn't on, you'd be able to see basically their eyes solid red, and it's all pupil. Like, their pupils can't constrict for some reason. They're staying dilated. But like, if you really look closely, you could barely see an iris around the very edges of the eye. And they're also a bit smaller than normal eyes. I'm not sure if they're as micro mini as the lesser pied eyes, but they're definitely a tad smaller than normal size ball python eyes. This one's the male over here. I'm keeping both of these just for future breeding projects. The male's growing a bit faster. And this is the girl. Wish I could just turn the flash off temporarily to show you how cool the eyes look. They're just solid red in the low lighting. But I have to have the flash on because the lighting in here is bad, so. Alright, I'm going to put these awesome snakes back and move right along. Alright, I haven't really made a video of all these, and I really have been wanting to, so I may as well add them in here. These are Mystic Pieds. And I have some more, but I don't really want to put too many on here at once. They'll start going crazy, I'm sure. But they're very similar to Mojave Pieds, and I really like the look of them compared to the Mojave Pieds. Mojave Pieds are a little bit lighter of a brown, almost a gold, and these guys are a little bit darker, like not as dark as the Cine Pieds. They're like in between a Mojave Pied and a Cine Pied, and I think they almost have the same type of pattern that the Cine Pieds have. Try not to get bit because they're all pretty feisty. Like if you look, it looks like Cine Pied pattern on here, but the color is lighter. And what's cool, at least I like it, is the heads are like really dark, like almost a black. These guys are gonna like get me from both angles. Look at this one here. He's got. I'm gonna put these back here a little bit because they're trying to bite. Look at the pattern on this one. This is the lowest white one I've hatched out so far. Look at this girl trying to tag me. See, the cool thing about ball pythons is, as long as you don't put yourself in front of the gun, you can't really get bit. You come from the back and tap their heads, and they usually just ball right up. These guys are a little bit more brazen than most, but look at that. Really like this pod combo for some reason. I'm gonna put them back. Keep going. So this one just recently hatched. It's a little female Pastel Pied, but she looks cool, like a lot different than most, especially this saddle back here. It almost has like a leopard look in there. For a Pastel Pied, this is a super nice one. Little blushed out saddle over here. So this girl also just recently hatched out. She actually just had her first shed yesterday. This is a female Enchi line black Pastel Pied. And as you can see, compared to most black Pastel Pieds, the pattern is just, it captures your eye a lot more. The contrast against that white, it's just way better than regular black Pastel Pieds or Cine Pieds in my opinion. So it's the Enchi line black Pastel Pied. I'm going to show you her sibling, which is the same thing, except it also has the Mojave gene on top. So it's a black Pastel Mojave Pied or a black Magic Pied. So, as you can see, it's a lot different looking than the regular black Pastel Pied is, because the Mojave gene blushes out the saddle, completely removing the pattern. It also lightens it up a bit, because you got to remember, a regular Mojave Pied basically has like a light goldish saddle. So adding that into this darker brown is going to lighten it up a bit. He's got some cool saddles back here too. And the Mojave Pied gives it the darker head. And also removes the neck pattern. These are really cool ones. Okay, now this is one of my favorite ones this year. I've actually produced a handful of these. This is one of my holdbacks. I'm keeping her. It's a Leopard Yellow Belly Pied. And the only reason I know it has leopard in it, obviously I could see it in there, but I know it has leopard because the dad of this animal is a Super Leopard Yellow Belly Pied that I got from Graziani Reptiles. So I know for a fact that there's leopard in here as well as the yellow belly. And how do you know the yellow belly's in there? Well, if you look close, you can see all the pixelated scales, and it's a deeper orange as well than the normal leopard pieds. The pixelation on the saddles is the dead giveaway. Like if it's got that, and the jagged saddles as well, that don't really, not always are they up higher and not touch the belly, but very often. Whereas most normal pieds, the majority of their saddles touch the belly like this one does. And yellow belly adds more jagged edges on the saddles as well. I'm going to show you a different one. Same combo, but just a different animal. hatched about 5 or 6 of these. This one I really like because the saddles are just so perfectly laid out and spread out consistently. Another cool thing about this guy here is, look at this here. It's like the saddle like came off a little bit. It's like washed out here and here. It's a little added bonus. Really like the side striping that the leopard gene adds in there too. Like makes a third stripe instead of these regular. Most pied saddles or yellow belly pieds will just have these 2 lines in here. They might not be perfect 2 lines, but usually you're not going to find a line down here. But the leopard consistently throws those. This animal doesn't have them as much, but all the other ones I produce mostly have them. Like here's another one. If you look, see, adds the line down there. These are really, really good to have if you're a breeder because genetically this is a super strong animal. Leopard and yellow belly, you guys know, well I don't know if you guys know, but if you don't, the leopard ivories are basically ivories with a lot of added pattern to them. So this animal right here is part of that project, but in piebald form. So you can make leopard ivory pied stuff with this, which is awesome, and other yellow belly complex pied stuff with the leopard gene added in there, such as leopard highway pieds, leopard puma pieds, leopard freeway pieds, leopard super stripe pieds. I don't know if I'm missing any, but those are all things that I want to make, so these animals are a key to making that. There's another line underneath. Alright, I'm going to move on to a different combo because I got too many of these to show. Okay, so you guys saw the Mystic Pieds and you heard me saying that the Mojave Pieds are a lot lighter of a brown, almost a golden. That's why these ones are called white gold Pieds. It's a nice little Mojave Pied girl. I think the look of them, they look a little bit nicer to me than the Mystic Pieds, but genetically what you can do with the Mystic Pieds and what hasn't been done with them, it's a little bit more sought after than the Mojave Pieds. But to me these things almost look nicer than the certain Mystic Pieds, at least. I know I like the color a lot, that lighter gold. I really like this washed out saddle back here. All right. This is one of my favorites. This is a Pastel Enchi Pied. And regular Enchi Pieds have this exact same pattern, but they're brown. but adding the pastel gene in there makes them this yellow, bright orange, like, looks like the snake's on fire, like flaming almost. As you guys can see, it's lower white because of the Enchi gene in there. Most Enchis are lower white, which is awesome because now you can see all the pattern and the added color that that gene throws in there. This is definitely one of those snakes that turns heads. Little smiley face. Pastel Enchi Pied. So, this one here is a GHI Mojave pinstripe. Now the regular GHI Mojaves are a lot darker, but the pinstripe gene adds that full dorsal stripe. It's just a bright stripe all the way down the entire snake. Let me get out a regular Mojave GHI to compare them. These are a little fresh hatchlings, so they're tiny, but so this is a Mojave GHI, one of like the most sought after combos for some reason, obviously because it's really dark. So when you add the pinstripe gene in there, it does take away a lot of the darkness of the animal, but it adds that stripe in there. This is a really good Mojave GHI though. Like, they don't all look like this, as dark as this and clean. I'll show you what an average one looks like. So usually they look like this. It's not as dark. And the dorsal stripe's a lot more broken up. So the pinstripe always just connects all that. This is just a really exceptional Mojave GHI. I might hang on to this girl just because she's so dark and clean. All right. Surprised I haven't got bit yet. Handling all these little babies. Feisty. So if you add the pastel gene onto the Mojave GHI, you get this. It's a Pastave GHI. Takes a lot of the black out and starts to add more yellow in there, but you still have a dark snake with more contrasts than the regular ones. Regular pastel GHIs are pretty cool, but when you add the Mojave in there, it just really darkens them up a lot. Pretty bright yellow against bright black. I'm sorry, bright yellow against dark black. It really looks cool. Bright black. All right. So I showed you guys the leopard yellow belly pied before. Now this is a leopard pied without yellow belly. A lot of the times people sell leopard pieds and they might not even be leopard pieds. It's very, very, very hard to tell. Sometimes you get a regular pied, it looks just like a leopard pied, and people sell them as leopard pieds, but like I said, I know mine are leopard pieds because they come from a super. So there's no chance that it's not a leopard. As you can see, leopard really tweaks things up, really changes a lot of the saddles. The striping inside the saddles becomes more wish-washed instead of consistent stripes like you get on normal pieds. Like these here, these are consistent stripes, but come to the next saddle and you got these weird face looking things. Little face there, face there, pumpkin looking face, little face there. That guy's confused. I like the look of the leopard pieds. A lot of people don't, because a lot of them are a little bit darker than the normal pieds, but when they come from a super leopard, the pattern makes up for it, and the look of it definitely is a lot cooler to me than a normal pied. When you produce something from any super form, whether it be a super pastel, super vanilla, super fire, when you make the single gene version of that animal, it's going to look better than a normal one would if it came from just say a regular pastel. Like if you hatch out regular pastels from a pastel parent, some aren't going to look good, some will look good, but if you had a super pastel parent, usually all of them, they'll all look very nice because they came from a super form. For some reason, that's what happens. And for instance, if you look, all my leopard pieds, not just this one, they're very, very extreme versions, and they look really nice because the dad is a super. I'll show you another one. Another thing on them is their necks. The neck striping here, it's a lot thicker usually. Not a lot, a little bit thicker than the normal pieds, and darker consistently. I mean, you're gonna get pied, regular pieds without, you know, that will have thick striping there, but the leopard pieds usually consistently have that dark neck stripe, and they're pretty thick too. If you look straight down on it, and they have a darker head. But the thing is, so can normal pieds. That's the problem. See, let me get out a normal pied that I hatched that looks just like a leopard pied, in my opinion, but I know it's not because the dad is a pewter pied and he's not a leopard. Hold on. For instance, both of these, look at the saddle on this. Now most breeders might hatch that out and sell that as a leopard pied, and it's not. It's just a normal pied that looks like a leopard pied. Oh, I almost got bit there. Wasn't even paying attention to him. But if you look at the neck, you'll see the striping is not as thick as the real leopard pied and as dark. This one here too has a little weird saddle. It's trying to bite me. Look at that saddle. That sort of looks leopardy. Someone might sell that as a leopard pied, but I don't really sell it as a leopard pied unless it came from a super. That's a real leopard pied. That's a fugazi. Alright guys, I'm going to show a couple more snakes and end this video because it's getting pretty long now, 35 minutes. Here's one of my favorite females that I'm gonna hang on to this year. So this girl here, I know everyone knows it's an albino, some sort of albino. It's actually a Candino though. It hasn't started to color up yet, but it's a Candino Calico. So if you look at the sides there, look at that. This thing almost looks like an albino clown, like the striping on it. So this was produced from breeding a albino calico to a pure candy female. So I know it's a Candino, and I cannot wait until this thing starts to color up. All that's gonna all be purple pretty soon after a couple sheds. If you look down here, she's got some striping on her belly. That's all gonna be purple. And I'm not sure if Candino Calicos are going to be a deeper purple because the white is so white and there's so much more white on there. I'm thinking that the purples are going to be just insane. And I'm hoping inside the orange you're going to see like flecking of purple in there. But I'll definitely do some update videos as she grows. There's a lot of albinos of these too that are available right now, depending on when you're watching this video. Just regular albino calicos that aren't Candino. They basically look exactly like this because this one here hasn't colored up yet. It's not purple yet, so all the albinos look just like this and they stay like this, but this one here's not gonna stay like that, and I cannot wait. Alright guys, this video is basically 40 minutes long. I'm gonna show one more snake on here, and it's a really weird one. I saved it for the last one. I wasn't sure if I was gonna put it on, but I'm gonna show you guys. Every once in a while you'll hatch out a snake that has some issues with it. Now this snake here happens to be a pied, which is awesome. He's eating well, very well, even without his eyes. This snake has no eyes. And he hunts very well. Live mice. He's already shed out. And he's growing super quick. He's actually got a really good feeding response to him. I'm gonna try to get him still here so you guys could see that the eye sockets are literally scaled over. Look at that. There's where the eye is supposed to be, but where is it? It's just the incubation thing that happens very rarely, but it does happen here and there. And I don't know whether to sell this animal as a pet to a friend or something like that, or just keep it because it's cool. It's a male, and his name is Clyde, the no-eyed pied. and he's a little goofball. He's very curious, always moving. Right when I open his enclosure, he pops right out and starts crawling right up my arm. He wants to really know what's going on because he can't see much, but all his other senses are pretty heightened more. They're a lot better. Especially his feeding is insane. This thing eats better than a normal ball python. It's always hungry. Alright guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you guys haven't. Be sure to watch all my older videos, because there's a lot of them. And if you guys are interested in anything, shoot me a message on Facebook at Trademark Exotics. I'll also leave some other contact information below in the description, other ways you can get a hold of me if you guys don't have Facebook. Hope you really enjoy this video. See you guys later.